It's another Thursday night. I see Crispin's wearing tights. Spam is getting in the bath. Young David's full of wrath. Paul is tightening his straps. Where on his apron you saps. Technical difficulties. They're really such a crime. Technical difficulties. They happen all the time. It's Yellow Belly Tabletop 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 time. Cheese meat is on day release. Damn, the silk tries not to crease. And Ewoks keeping nice and warm in bed with Russian uniform. Meanwhile, the handyman is opening up the can. Technical difficulties, they're really such a crime. Technical difficulties, they happen all the time. It's Yellow Belly Tabletop 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 time. Cheese meat is on day release. Damn, chef tries not to crease. The Ewoks keeping nice and warm in bed with Russian uniform. Meanwhile, the handyman is opening another can. It's Yellow Belly Tabletop time. 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 Cheese meat is on day release. Damn, the up tries not to crease. And Ewoks keeping nice and warm in bed with Russian uniform. Meanwhile, the handyman is opening another can. It's another Thursday night. I see Crispin's wearing tights. Spam is getting in the bath. Young David's full of wrath. Paul is tightening his straps. Where on his apron you saps. Technical difficulties, they're really such a crime. Technical difficulties, they happen all the time. It's Yellow Belly Tabletop 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 time.
Evening all. Right,
How are we doing?
I can see from the chat that everybody's noticed we had a little bit of a change this week, a little bit of a modification to our normal running order. All credit goes to Ewok Kebab, one of our regular viewers, who sent me that song generated by an AI tool I think he's been messing about with. Most of you guys guessed it in the chat. I think it's very much a first iteration. What I'd like to do is working with Ewok and getting some more lyrics with some of the regulars featured, Pandy and Upwelder and all those others. So, but for a first draft, what a fucking banger, eh? What an absolute banger that is.
It's fucking scary what AI can do. When are they going to start painting fucking miniatures for us?
Hi, Chris. Yes, Cheese Me. He did send me the Rome song as well. Do you know what's also great? I tend to clip the intros eventually so that we don't get a ton of lead time and people having to sit and watch blank screen on the rewatch on YouTube. So that theme tune will be only for you guys who catch us live. Genius. Yeah, he's as I say, absolute Ewok kebab. I don't think you're in the chat, sir, but you're a fucking
Hats
legend.
off to you.
Absolutely smashing it out of the park. And it's, do you know what? I'm just in awe. Well done. Absolutely brilliant. So, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Yellowbelly hobby live stream, a regular Thursday feature. Pardon me. Yeah, the Rome Lloyd song that is brilliant. The lyrics are banging for that. The way that it's including a load of Roman terminology and then creating rhymes. And as I say, the song's spot on for the Yellowbelly theme. But if we can get some more of the lyrics, a bit more variety towards the end of the song, I'm sure.
Christmas number one. Christmas number one, maybe.
Oh dear. I did ask Cheesy if there were any sort of like copyright issues. He says, I think Sony are talking to their lawyers, so we'll see. And I mean, I'll be honest, it's my first time certainly dabbling with AI in live streaming. So do you know what? If I get I can't get demonetized because we're not monetized. But if I get some sort of copyright shit from YouTube, at least it's at the beginning and the end of the show, so I can just fucking hack it off.
Crop it right out.
But we'll see. So yeah, if you're joining us for the first time, I don't know. I'm getting a little bit of echo in my headphones, guys, so I don't know if there's something wrong with audio. We'll have to see how it goes. If you're joining us for the first time, we're going to follow our regular format tonight. So first of all, David and I are going to be talking about a little bit of hobby, what we're going to be doing during tonight's show, just to get some of the work done that needs to be done when you do tabletop wargaming as a hobby. And then we'll have a chat about what we got up to at club on Monday night. Then we will talk about some news, and then we'll get into our suitably spooky Halloween.
Hang on, what the fuck's going on?
What?
I'm just catching up on chat.
Oh. Chat flies now, mate. I can't even keep up with it. Anyway. Then about 9 o'clock we'll do our suitably spooky Halloween theme, where we're going to talk about horror in the tabletop wargaming space. We'll touch upon horror in other formats, but specifically war games, miniature war games, and horror.
There is an issue, but more on that later.
What I am going to do is shout out everybody in chat, because with all the excitement about the new theme tune, I forgot to do that. So, hello to Crispin, stroke because of Ben, his two aliases.
Cheese.
Hello to Cheese Me. Good evening, sir. Hello to Upwelder, stroke Trevor. Hello to Spam, who is David's other half. Hello to Darren, Demon Sub. Now then, has Darren actually spoiled what he's doing? Because he's the hobby machine. I don't
know.
Really comment yet.
It's sound on by if he did, because he was ill last week. And
hello,
week,
Chris. I just noticed Ewok. I'm not here yet. Okay, Ewok. Well, for when you get here, hello. Dear. So yeah, good to see everybody in chat as usual.
Apparently, I'm loud and echoey in audio.
Sorry?
Fuck knows. Apparently I'm loud and echoey in the audio.
To be fair, you are loud and echoey. I did think that, but I wasn't sure if it was my canes or whether it's something my end. You haven't changed any of your audio setups, I'm assuming.
No, I've just unplugged a load of shit and plugged a load of shit back in because my camera decided to fucking
Darren's
shit itself
dabbling
earlier.
with Gundam.
Is that for a game, Darren, or is that just for shits and giggles?
These Ewoks come up and comment about your audio. Naughty. Naughty, naughty.
Ewok, back in your box. Back in your
That's
box.
awesome. Yeah, happy Halloween, Crispin. Fucking Halloween. I don't know. So, no, apparently it's not for a game. Darren's just got into Gundam at the start. So it's not your first kit then, Darren. Not that Gundam will mean anything to me, but just in case we have any Gundam fans watching, Darren, do you want to tell them exactly what kit it is? Because I know they have loads of difficulty levels and like you get super expert kits and baby's first Gundam kits, and it's all ranged. Yeah, cool. Well, good for you, son. Right. Hobby then, mate. Do you want to go first or shall I? Mine might be a bit of a long one. I'm going to warn you.
I'll go first then. Come on then down. Come on down to the desk.
Come on down.
I had a wash before stream today.
Oh, that's first. Hey. Good job we don't have smelly vision.
I was washing miniatures. I was washing... Are you on my fucking video?
I am now.
I was washing... what's this called? Full Out Waste and Warfare. Oh, that nearly fucking went everywhere. That was nearly a disaster. Full Out Waste and Warfare I'm washing.
Ah, right, okay. Balls. That means I'm going to have to get that sorted. Damn you.
Carnivale and some TT Combat air ducts for my Drop Zone Commander.
Okay, so you do basically doing a
of,
massive batch wash of all your resin bits and pieces.
Yeah, doing a batch wash of my resins, and then I'm going to start building them. I have just built this boy, boys and girls. It's a gorilla with fucking wings, bitches.
Is that a 3D print? Or is that... No, that's one of the Doctor's...
That's the Doctor's Carnivale mini.
Yeah.
So I'm having a bit of a building session, and then I'm going to be working on painting competition because we have Omen as the theme.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of feigning out, and I'm doing 5 Seer minis for Mythic Battles Ragnarok because they can see the future.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That fits the theme.
So that's what I'm up to.
I did think about doing that tonight on stream, but the problem with painting on stream is I get into it and then I don't sort of interact with the chat and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm keeping it nice and simple tonight. So as I say, my hobby segment. Let me just readjust my desk
Your hobby
cam.
segue.
My hobby segment. I'm just going to dip out.
And I'm just
so
trimming down some power armor, raider power armor.
I played a game of this is a bit of a spoiler for later, but we'll talk about it more then. I played Warhammer Fantasy: The Old World on Monday at club night. So it is my second game, and I am now basically decided that I am going to be investing, and
you're buying into Old World, are you?
Yeah. Which is a novelty for me, because obviously I'm pretty anti-G-dub, but
you're not as anti-GW as I am.
Yeah,
I'm
true.
fucking very anti-GW.
Pardon me. Sorry, everybody.
You're dying, sir.
For everybody,
like
everybody
dying.
who doesn't know, one of the issues with the transition that Games Workshop have made to their new fantasy mass combat version, dubbed the Old World, effectively Warhammer Fantasy Battles 9th edition, is that because the nature of their miniatures has changed over the last 30 years, and they've got massive scale creep, and their miniatures have got huge and very dynamically posed, they've made the decision to enlarge the bases on virtually everything that isn't like a war machine or wasn't already stupidly big in the first place. So it means that my old collection of orcs and goblins and chaos and elves and empire that I had for fantasy in previous iterations, everything is on the wrong base size.
To be fair, though, it's all on the wrong base size if you play Oathmark as well, sir. So it's
Yeah.
not the end of the world.
So what I did was I thought, oh, now I'm definitely committing to the system. I should do some hobby and basically make myself movement trays that modify, that have got like fillers that can fit between the models to expand the unit out to the correct size and correct frontage. And then I thought about the amount of work I'd have to put in cutting little squares out of cardboard sheets or whatever the hell I was going to use, or a plastic card or whatever I was going to use to make my movement trays, and thought, do you know what? Fuck that for an orc and
Have you
goblin.
seen? Have you seen OPR releasing some movement trays?
I
next month?
have, bizarrely enough. I saw that after I'd done what I've just done. So I thought, fuck that for a game of soldiers. And I went onto the internet and I found war bases are doing exactly the product that I need. So they're doing...
Did it actually come with instructions? Because their painting stand didn't come with any instructions. Just saying.
These don't need instructions. To be honest, if you need instructions with these, you've probably got some
I
sort of learning
didn't think
disability.
a painting stand would need instructions, but it definitely did.
So, this is what I'm going to be working on tonight, because effectively you get the product in two parts. Do you know what, Darren? That's exactly what's happened in the games I've played so far. Because V, my opponent, has got wood elves on the classic basing, we're both in the same boat, so we have literally just sort of like hand waved it and just
said fuck it.
Fuck it. But to be honest, there are a couple of units in my orc and goblin collection that never really ranked very well anyway, namely the archers from 5th edition, the orc archers, the plastic orc archers from 5th edition, and the boar boys from 5th edition or 4th edition, with their shields and their elbows sticking out. You had, because again, that I don't know if anybody remembers this, the old, in fact I've got one here I can show everybody on camera. If everybody remembers, the old cavalry bases that Games Workshop used to produce for fantasy had these massive long slots that run front to back. And until I started building units, I didn't understand why you would have insanely long slots for, like, bearing in mind the miniatures often only had like a 1-inch tongue to fit in the base. Then when you start building the units, you realise that allows you to slide one horse forward and then one horse back, so that where you've got objects
to stagger them.
Yes, exactly. So you can do like a sawtooth type of arrangement where you can stagger the mounts and the riders forwards and backwards so that they rank better. But even with this, man, the fucking orc boar boy riders, the first ones that they did with the plastic boars and the metal riders, and I think it was 4th edition, they were a fucking nightmare.
Where did my fucking activator disappear?
Anyway, long story short, I thought, fuck it. Because of the amount of time I'm going to waste, I'll just buy this War Bases product. So I've spent just under 50 quid with postage, I think it is. And I have got 30 different movement trays for both 25mm infantry, 20mm infantry, and cavalry 25 by 50. So that's, I think I bought 10 of each because I couldn't be asked to work out what I actually needed. So I thought I'll just buy 10 of each and it'll be fine. So they come in 2 sections. You've got your actual base plate. So in this case, this is the new orc size, which is 30 by 30. So this is 60 by 150. Is that right? 3 5s are 150. Yeah. So 60 by 150. Then you put your spacer on top, glue it to the top, and then your 25 by 25s sit there.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do they come with the squares in the middle, and then you get like two products in one that you could get some 25mm bases as well?
What do you mean? So you actually...
Well, obviously, because of the holes for the insert, right?
Yeah.
You could get some 20mm squares out of them for another unit, rank and flank, is what I'm saying. Like that window pane panel that came with it. That's the top bit.
Well, no, because it literally just comes pre-cut like this.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Warbase has missed a trick there because they could have packed it with that in as well, and you could have got some 20mm bases and you could have paid a premium for it.
Oh, right. I see what you're saying. No, you get that for your 25s, you get that for your 20s, and then the cavalry one is like so. Now, in terms of a review, these are some of the cleanest, best cut MDF I have ever seen. You know how normally on MDF you get little tongue markings where they've sort of like not fully cut through and you get little uneven parts? These are fucking pristine. Absolutely. The sides are as clean as a whistle. The corners are super sharp. The actual templates that you stick on top, they're beautifully crisp. They're beautifully cut. I am super impressed with the quality of these. I mean, I know that they're dead simple shapes, but you know, I think they've done a cracking job on these. And I thought this would be a good job for. So my Warbases review is quite positive, and I don't think they were unreasonably priced. I mean, I've spent just under 50 quid, and I don't think I'll ever need to buy any more. Because it doesn't matter. I mean, even fielding my full Night Goblin army, I'm sure I'll have enough trays to do like 150, 160 Night Gobs.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a problem.
Speaking of Night Gobs, I've got a Patreon coming next month with some Night Goblins in it.
Okay, that would be. To be fair, mate, I wouldn't mind you printing me 20 because I could do. Or you always could do with more Night Goblins, particularly Night Goblin Spearmen. I've got bows coming out of my ears. In answer to your question, Upworlder, as I said,
if I've got Spearmen.
As I said, I've got 10 of each. So I got 10 cav, 10 20s, 10 25s. And it was
preview.
With the postage, it was £48 and pence, I think. Something like that. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing tonight. Basically, because this parcel came today, so I'm just going to be sorting them, gluing the tops to the bottoms, so that they probably just using PVA, so that they are all ready to go.
Yeah, I've got Spearmen, sir.
That's cool. Yeah, I'll...
And there's even a little piper in it. Let me send you this.
Have you got any guys with nets?
Can't say that I have. Where's the best place to send this?
That is something that I do need. Some netters.
Go have a look at that in a bit.
But that's cool. Well, we can have a chat about what you're gonna do for me. I tell you what, talking of competition, paint competition, don't forget everybody, the theme is Omen, as David said earlier, and next week on the stream we will be discussing the entries. So if you want to get a miniature in for the painting competition, there is a Gmail address at the bottom, or if you're a member of the On Tabletop community, you can DM me on the On Tabletop Discord with an entry if you so wish. Let's just get rid of this cardboard box, and then we can crack on.
I need to sort out my fucking paint storage system. This is ridiculous.
I gutted one of the guys at our club, Dan, was actually going to enter the competition, the painting competition this week. We say competition, enter the painting event this week, this month rather, and he was going to enter one of the Thundercats models that 7TV does, because was it the Panthera, whichever one had the Sword of Omens, probably the Chief Cat, whatever his name was.
Yes, I have a system, Trevor. It's called Throw It All in a Fucking Box.
It's fucking chaos. It's enough to make you fucking skin itch watching him claw about in his fucking boxes. So yeah, do you want to talk about club then, mate?
Well, yeah, because I'm going to keep it short and sweet and brief.
Again.
I played Armada with Ricky.
Okay, noted, Ewok, thank you.
Pirates versus Dwarves, which was quite fun. We played the scenario from Seas of Flame. Can't remember what it's called now, but it's you've captured the captain.
Hello, Shakos.
I've got to get across the board one way. He's got to try and stop me leaving the board in the time frame. Capture the captain, fuck off the other way. Was a really fun, really close game. Came down to the very last end of round 8, and he just won it because he had captured his captain, and there was fuck all I could do to reclaim him.
And do you know what? There's a moral to the story, isn't there? Because Ricky was he was on the edge of throwing in the towel, and you talked him out.
Yeah, he's like, there's no way I can do this. There's no way I can do this. I said, just fucking hold on. You've got this. Just give it a minute. So. And
it turns out that David was right. And he did, in fact, end up winning the game. So, well done, mate. In terms of what I did, as I said, I've spoiled it. I played Old World, Warhammer Old World. Obviously, I'm a massive fan of Warhammer Fantasy. I've played every edition since 3rd. I've been on the fence, but I've decided to jump in because, frankly, it's a good edition of fantasy. The magic's been toned down. The armies that they actually are supporting haven't changed drastically.
Roll randomly for it, or do you get to pick?
No,
now?
it's much. The only thing, you still roll randomly for what spells you get each battle. But having said that, you can buy a magic item that allows you to pick them if you want. You've just got to invest more points in it. Everything can be dispelled. You don't have a pool of dice, and when they're gone, they're gone. If your opponent casts something and you have a wizard within range, you can always just throw the dice and try and dispel it. So there's always a chance that you can stop your opponent from getting stuff off, which is brilliant, to be honest with you. It stops it being an absolute walkover. It stops your opponent gaining the magic phase and basically pushing you out. The only thing I will say about magic that's a little bit is that because the roll is basically 2d6 plus your wizard level, it is pretty much a thing that everybody has to take a level 4 caster, because if you don't, you
can't get half your shit off.
Well, and you're running the risk that your opponent will just cancel everything, etc. So don't get me wrong, it is not perfect, but
yeah, but to be fair, whenever is a GW game perfect?
No,
Everything's
it
got its
isn't.
caveats.
I mean, just having a quick look in the chat there, Shakos says it's not award-winning like Kings of War. I still like Kings of War, Shakos, and I would say I like Kings of War better. It's a faster game.
It's just again that a lot of the lads at club have got into Old World. There's four players that play them regularly.
Yeah,
V,
Alex,
Aaron,
Dan.
3 then.
Yeah.
Dan, yeah.
I've had people play test games of Kings, but Kings hasn't really hit the spot. I still prefer it. Again,
I'm not a fan of the nerve
testing.
But I think, as we discussed on stream last week, that had a lot to do with how that particular list was built.
Yeah, we can definitely. I think we can cure you of that fear. The only thing, as I say, I prefer Kings. The other thing I will say about this edition of it's still Warhammer, so it still plays really fucking slow. We played 2,000 points and got to turn 3 in like 4 hours. Admittedly, it's only my second game, so I don't know what anything does. I don't even know the core rules particularly well for combat res and stuff. I mean, I'm sure we can get better, and we can probably get to a position where we can get a 5-turn, 1,500 point game done. We might even get to the point where we can get a 5-turn, 2,000 point game fully done. You know, if I play it often,
right?
if I play it often enough. But yeah. Is it better than Kings of War? No, it's not a better game than Kings of War. Kings of War is much more polished.
If you can cure me of my affliction,
yep,
regarding Kings of War,
yep,
I think I would much rather collect a Kings of War Northern Alliance army, because that's sort of shit you can't do in fucking Old World.
Exactly. I mean, that's the other reason Kings of War is, I think, a better game, is that you've got more options for army building. You know, it's far easier to proxy other miniature ranges, and a lot of miniature ranges are created with that in mind from the 3D printers guys and stuff. So, I mean, that's another feather in Kings' cap. But, you know, I enjoyed this game.
Combat res is a lot quicker in Kings, because it's just and again, multi-basing.
Again, you still got the problem of model removal in Fantasy, which is just a chore and frankly a bit pointless. I enjoyed the game very much. I had one glorious moment where I had a disastrous moment in setup, which is just shown by this picture here. So for those who don't know, the Wood Elves have this ability to basically place certain units behind you at the start of the game, unless you can completely create a situation where they can't get within 12 inches of you and still be still be on the table. And I thought I'd measured everything out, but no, I'm an idiot. And so these bloody elves ended up getting in my back end behind me. And basically made my game a complete nightmare, because they just started attacking my vulnerable war machines, and I didn't have anything to sort of stop them. So that was a bit of a faux pas. But then again, the arm of fate swung back in my favour later in the game, when basically, if I skip forward, so here are my Goblin Spider Riders. In fact, I've skipped a bit too far forward. If you look at the battlefield here, there's like on the right hand side, there's this clump of rocks that we were playing as basically trees made out of stone. They were playing it as a forest, even though they're columns of rock. And just in front of them are my Goblin Spider Riders. Sadly unpainted grey plastic, but I'm going to fix that soon. And just above them, so in the top right corner, there is just visible a group of elves on the other side of that swamp tile, which is actually representing the summoned woods from the Wood Elf player. And basically those elves, for anybody who's not played Old World, Wood Elves shooting is fucking ridiculously lethal. that's the other thing that's nice about Old World. They've really fixed some balance issues that the old game had. In 8th edition, Wood Elves were useless because shooting didn't do anything. Nobody's army shooting did anything. But they've managed to get the balance so that a shooting army like an elite shooting army with a very low model count and primarily bow attacks can actually now do stuff to the enemy, which is really impressive to watch. But those elves were basically shredding my spider riders. And so I said, okay, that's it. Fuck it. I'm going to Hail Mary charge into those elves through that woods. Because obviously one of the advantages of the spiders is they can ignore terrain, which is better than the wolves and the boars for the orcs and goblins. So I think I needed to roll a 16 or something on my charge. And I got exactly what I needed, and I because it was such a long charge. V said, "Well, what I'm going to do is that unit has the ability to what's called fire and flee, so they can give you yet another blast of shooting in the face as you're charging in, which is horrible. Then they just turn and run away so that your charge fails." And he shot me.
That's the thing.
Turned and ran. After he'd finished running away, it worked out that I needed a 16 to catch him. And I absolutely got super, super lucky on the dice and managed to get... I think I rolled a 9 on 2d6, which with my movement stat was literally just enough. Literally just enough to catch him. And obviously if you catch a fleeing unit with a charge, they're gone. And I managed to destroy an entire block of 20 of his elf archers in one hit. As I say, swings and roundabouts. The game gave and the game took away. In the end, we called it at turn 3 with a victory for me, simply because I'd got so much. That's one, because again, the orcs and goblins, I massively outnumbered him. I must have outnumbered him in models in terms of 3-1 at least.
Yeah, something like that.
Because I had like fucking a massive unit of 40 goblins, a massive unit of 40 orcs, 10 boar boys, 15 spider riders. It was preposterous the amount of models I managed to get on the table. But that's because I didn't spend a lot of my points on champions, which is another reason why I like Kings of War. Because Kings of War is a game where the units matter, the characters are literally just flavouring sprinkled on top. This game, I think, can still be a bit Hero Hammer. You know, one certain road to victory is buy the hardest bastard leader you can and stick him on a dragon stroke dinosaur stroke something big and scary, and he just eats through the enemy lines like a nut job. Which is not something I generally like in my rank and flank games, because it doesn't feel very strategic. It doesn't
rank
feel
and
very
flanky.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right. But again,
Ewok, your terrain is looking very fucking good though, dude.
What's that?
Just saying. Ewok saying he's been neglecting his kings for the terrain and stuff that he's building. That he's been posting on like Instagram and Facebook and stuff, but it does look fucking amazing.
Yeah, well, you can't do everything, Ewok. Something's gonna have to give, mate. So yeah, as I say, that's I did get a win technically because we sort of called it at turn 3, and I was basically just gunning for that unit with all of his champions in, but it was a great game, and thanks to V for giving me the experience. It was a fabulous game, and I am excited genuinely to play more Old World. So there you go. Who'd have thought it? We're confessing to wanting to play more of a Games Workshop game.
We need an AI music intro for the news.
What, now we've got a new AI theme song?
Yeah,
I'm going to have to do little clips so that I can run them when we go between our various segments.
Yeah, okay. If I'm salty as fuck, we need like a salty bastard jingle.
Are you listening, Ewok? Apparently, this is your
You sign up now, dude.
You've apparently you sound design editor. You've got the job. Did you whether you wanted that job or not? Apparently it doesn't matter, but that's the job you've got.
Never
Yeah.
stick your head above the parapet.
So, do we talk about some news, mate? Talk about some shit we seen on the internet.
Where are we starting?
Oh God, that's a good question.
Should we go with Chroma? Should we start with Chroma?
Yeah, let's do that. Actually, you said you wanted to talk. So
Yes.
we mentioned it last week, guys.
TT Combat
TT
Chroma Kickstarter is live for their pre-coloured MDF terrain. It is on a very, very short clock. We have 8 days left.
Yeah.
Starting pledge level is at 12 quid for the bunker that you can see at the top of the image in front of you.
I'll scroll down more
And
people so that people can see.
that's 12 quid will unlock you the, what's it called? Pledge manager for backing add-ons and stuff. So there are options. It looks really quite good. I'm really intrigued and interested in getting the landing pad that's one of the add-ons and the acid vats for my Space Station 05 Parsec stuff that I want to do in the next 12 months.
Yeah, they're doing 2 different colours, aren't they? Like the blue or the brown. Grey.
The problem
brown.
being, I have to buy a bunker even if I don't want the bunker to unlock the pledge manager.
Okay. That's because you said you wanted to have a moan about the pledges. Can't you just pledge for £1?
No, you have to pledge for £12 to get access to the add-on. You have to back for a bunker.
Okay. Well, back for the bunker and give it to me.
I probably will, but the point being, just for fuck's sake, TT.
I quite like the look of this. I'm almost certainly going.
The only thing I'm not a fan of on this is the fact that it's so 40k.
I'm not too bothered. Number one, because I don't really have any for this terrain like this. Number two, this will do me nicely for firefight. Thank you very much. Job done. So you know that's a fucking winner. It you know it don't get me wrong, it's not mind blowing.
It's an acquired taste.
It's fine. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I think it's reasonably priced. You just unpack it and play with it. I'll be literally, the only thing is I've had a few expenses this month with my professional fees renewal and that sort of thing. But I'm sure I can dip into my savings for 100 notes for this. What do you guys think? Have we got any thoughts on this? The
other thing I'm quite liking about this is, yes, you could argue that it's a bit expensive because, like, their current landing pads that are not pre-coloured are about, what, tenner for the same size? This is doubling in price to 20 quid as the add-on. And this is obviously the Kickstarter. I don't know how well that's going to transfer to retail money afterwards.
Yeah.
But the other thing I will say on this, they are actually, and they do look better than the War Cradle pre-colours. They've taken a more micro art studio approach with sublimation, which is quite nice to see.
Do you think they're nicer than the... I'm not so sure. I think
I like it because it's less work. If I want to weather and put streaking on my War Cradle stuff, I've got to do that myself. Yes, I'm in control of that, but I mean, we only have to look at the fact that it took me 3 weeks to build a fucking building, to then question, well, actually, have I saved much by it being pre-coloured?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think 9 days out of 10, if you ask me, I prefer the spray painted MDF where they do sheets in individual colours and then use them creatively to create a pre-coloured model.
Yeah, the only thing I will say as well is I don't know how shiny this sublimation is, because it looks quite shiny in the promo pictures.
To be fair though, you get some Army Painter anti-shine or a nice matte varnish aerosol and just give it a light dust, and you can knock that right the fuck back. So that's easily fixed. Easily fixed. I've yet to see one of these. One thing I will say is who's that other company that do the sublimation? Micro Art Studios. Micro Art Studios. I don't like their sublimated products because the color palettes seem too vibrant.
Yeah, they're too poppy.
I mean, if I wanted to get their World War II stuff, I'd have to weather the bollocks out of it. It would just drive me nuts. I'd feel like I was
At
playing.
least the CT stuff does look more muted.
Yeah, I like the colour palette better. I mean, I think it was Shakos says, does anybody else find pre-coloured MDF a bit meh? I totally get what you mean, Shakos. If I was to compare pre-coloured MDF versus MDF I have painted myself with an airbrush and weathered and blah blah blah, now obviously it's better, but the work that goes into it, mate, I mean, I don't know how you feel about it in terms of your hobby, but for me it's just something I'm willing to accept the compromise on. Because,
well, again, it's like you really like 3D printed terrain. You really like the effort of that 3D printed Frostgrave table I did for you.
Yep.
How many years have you had that and it's still not finished? I'm not attacking you when I say that.
And you're right. And you know what as well? I mean, 3D printing terrain is one of the few things that might get me to actually venture into 3D printing, because I just think it's a fantastic way to get great terrain. But that terrain then needs painting, and
yeah.
That again is like it's an obstacle. I'm not up for that. It's too much. These guys are on about survival board games, Valheim.
I'll tell you what I am interested to see though, longer term, if this Chroma does well for them, is if they bring it to like their Streets of Venice set.
I mean, that's what I mean, being entirely selfish, I want this to be a success for exactly the reason David said, because I want them to then go back to their products that they've already done.
I mean, again, I'll tell you where they've missed a trick on this as well. Could you imagine, like, some of the DZC buildings with this, with the glass and the reflections like printed on the glass?
Yep.
Shit that's really hard to fucking do on the MDF as it stands at the moment.
And even if somebody would say, oh no, that's not hard, it's time consuming, even when it's not hard. To paint like 100 fucking 3 millimeter square windows on a fucking skyscraper, that is time consuming, dude. I don't care who you are, you know, that is a fucking lot of pissing about. What's this? Somebody's mentioned, Darren said, I bought their landing pad. Which landing pad was that you were talking about, Darren? And Darren also says he had Games Workshop's Garden of Moor set and he had it 10 years before he finished it. Darren, I've still only painted one building out of mine, and I've had mine a lot longer than 10 years. I think. Because again, to be honest, I've had a rant about Garden of Moor before. It's like, you know, you've got to paint the roses and the ivy growing up the walls and all over the tombs, and it's like, leave that shit off. I can just add I can add stuff from Woodland Scenics if I want ivy on it. Don't fucking put it on so I've got to paint it, you bastards.
I am with Ewok here. The thing I find is, if I've 3D printed something, it does take a dry brush a lot nicer than a MDF building ever does.
Yeah, no, I'll give you that. I think part of the problem as well is the kind of terrain I like is fussy in terms of its colour palette. Do you know what I mean? Unfortunately, I like the Carnivale terrain and fantasy terrain where you've got little cottages
Yeah.
with door frames and window frames and chimneys and chimney pots.
I'll tell you the one sci-fi one you did like. You did like them walls.
Oh, the TT Combat 14 quid one. Okay, cool. Sorry, mate.
You like the walls that I got and the power generators.
Yeah.
In the sci-fi range.
Yeah. Yeah, that's sort of they reminded me a bit of the power generators on the Hoth thing, the semicircular jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know the ones you mean.
I know a bamboo's nice,
Yeah.
but there is something about, at least for me, my voxel lab that I bought, because it was only 120. Yes, I have had to upgrade it and fuck around with it, but it's now with me and it's now part of the family because I've been inside its guts, fucking tons.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I say, for me, it's just about the time. I already spend far too much time, you know, if you ask my wife, on painting and hobby and modelling and that sort of thing. If I can get pre-coloured terrain where you just glue the fucker together and you're done, that's where I'm at. And if I have to accept some compromises, such as the way it looks, I mean, it's like, because the other thing as well is the obviously you've got the edge of the MDF quite visible in some of these products in this Kickstarter. Do you think you would go back in and paint them?
I don't know, because I think you're going to struggle to match the palette.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. And you know what? That's one of the advantages for the painted MDF versus this sort of like texture transferred stuff. Because with the painted stuff, you just get a reasonable colour match and you just paint it a flat colour and it matches. Whereas this, you've got to match to an entire printed texture, which could be even harder to do.
I still think, mate, you know, we had a discussion 2 years ago at Games Expo.
Right.
About our idea with the outers and the inners and the...
Oh, yeah.
I still think we need to have a look at that.
Well, you're the engineer who's got the fucking... All you need to do is get yourself an MDF cutter.
or I just 3D print MDF proxy.
Yeah, well, whatever. Yeah, and we can do. We'll engineer a solution.
Right.
Well, do you expect Paul to remember 2 years ago? Lol. Yeah, but I can't even remember 2 fucking minutes ago. Not realistic, mate. Where should we go next? Let's not do that one because that's a ranty one. I'll do this one because this is a positive one. Talking about Old World, I just wanted to shout this out. So, I don't even know what.
Where's his fucking leg?
So, Square-based, a Warhammer Fantasy in the Old World is a channel by the guy who did the old Slapchop thing. I don't fucking remember his name. Somebody can shout it out in the comments.
Oh, I don't fucking know.
But he does this channel that's basically one of his games that he's a bit of a flag waver for is Old World. This is a great podcast here. This guy's from Canada and again is an event coordinator and that for Warhammer the Old World in Canada, and they have a little bit of a chat about the things that don't work quite so well in the Old World and that Games Workshop might want to consider addressing with FAQs or updates or that sort of thing. And it's a good watch. If you're into the Old World, there's some good ideas here. And if you're thinking about getting into the Old World, I would also recommend this podcast for just some of the things that you might want to keep an eye out for, that particularly if you're coming from other games like Kings of War or other versions of Fantasy Battles, some of the things that haven't translated well to the new iteration of the rules. Because no set of rules can be perfect, and like I say, don't get the wrong impression from this. I'm not sharing this because it's, oh, well, it's a fucking shit version. You should play 8th edition, 7th edition, 6th, insert favourite edition
it's
here.
project or whatever.
It's just, you know, nothing's perfect and some of the things don't work very well. And I tell you what, I'm seriously considering suggesting to V that we try some of the ideas voiced here as house rules. To make infantry a little bit more effective against things like cavalry, to tone down monsters. I really like the some of the ideas in here. I mean, again, I said about one of the weaknesses with Warhammer the Old World is the old problem of you get, like I could get an orc and stick him on a wyvern and give him 100 points worth of magic items and run around kicking everything's face in. I'm lucky in that I don't do competitive, so I'm not likely to meet that. And all of the guys who want to play this at the club, they're the kind of people that are like, do you know what, that's really interesting, but no, that's not the way I want to play this game. So it's not a massive problem for me. Warwick just rewrote it and plays his own version. Oh, is that the Canadian guy, Shakos? Because he did say he was putting up an FAQ, so I assumed it was like an FAQ of house rules and that sort of things. And you know what? It doesn't sound like a bad idea, because you know, there are so few things that need fixing. I think anybody with a bit of gaming experience could probably come up with some solutions. Do you know what I mean? I mean, there are some great ones in here. Kinraid, Soldiers and Battle Group fame. Oh, okay. That's oh my god. Oh, you walk. Right, what else have we got here? I'm going to shout this guy out. Carl Walmsley. I mean, I was going to say he's got a tiny channel, but fucking hell, he's got eight times the subscriber count we've got. By the way, we had 2 new subscribers just join us recently. We're up to 108 now, and I thank every single one of you personally, whoever you are. It doesn't matter to me that there's only 108 of you. If there were only 10 of you, it'd be amazing. But the 108, you know, I like the fact we just keep picking up the odd guy here and there every few months. People who are obviously into what we do. I'm not, you know, we're not getting like 10,000 subscribers overnight. It's so I know that each of you guys that joins has probably watched a fair bit of content and probably enjoys what we do, and that I really appreciate that. But coming back to Carl here, relatively small channel. His videos are great. I watched 2 this week. He did one he recommended 5 war games that play really well under an hour. I tell you what was in this video that perked my interest. Oh, I've done it again. I always keep doing that, minimising that. I tell you what piqued my interest in this, mate. He did that Zone Frontier, that mutant one we picked up at Expo. Zone, what the hell's it called?
Mutant Year Zero Zone Wars.
That's it, Mutant Year Zero.
Yeah, because I today downloaded the rulebook because it's free on Wargaming Vault. Yeah, so I don't need your rulebook now. Excellent.
So you and I are going to have to get. But he doesn't have his own theme tune. No, he doesn't, Ewok. But then again, he probably hasn't got a fan like you, bud.
That is some dedication, my friend.
That is legendary. That is. So yeah, and the other video I watched of his this week was, what the shit did I watch? 5 war games to play. Basically 5 war game rules that he really liked, that he thought were either thematic and or fun and or innovative. He just does great little compact videos. They're, you know, it's just really good content. So if you haven't checked him out on YouTube yet, do so. Find his channel, and because I guarantee you might not want to watch everything, but there'll be 2 or 3 little of his short videos that you'll enjoy, and that are full of really cool stuff. And now, do you want to rant about?
What am I ranting
I'll
about?
tell you what, let's do a positive one again. So I don't know if you want to share this. This was one you sent me from Ugni, is that how you pronounce it, miniatures?
Oh, yes. So 3D printed Blood Bowl teams. I bought his gnomes recently, these punky gnomes. He is, for November, doing a Lovecraftian horror-themed team with a demigorgon and everything in. They're fucking gorgeous, boys and girls. His work is good. And he does, I think, about 95% of a team in a single release, unlike Punga.
Which do it in 2 batches.
Yeah.
Yeah, I must confess, the models here do look really cool. I mean, I know they're only renders, but have you printed any stuff?
No, I haven't. It will be going on the printer shortly.
Okay, so
I have spent
it's watched
the past
space,
week,
then.
boys and girls, printing salamanders for Armada.
Ooh.
Entire faction for spam.
Awesome. So yeah, Ugni, and
Which
is this his Patreon, or is that the only way to pick these up?
It's paid. You can pick them up on my mini factory after.
Oh, okay. So they're going to be on my mini factory afterwards. Okay, that's cool. Sweet.
What makes you say that, Ewok? Have you supported him in the past and had issues with his pre-supports, or?
Nobody wants a fan like me. You'll have the restraining orders. Okay, so I don't know if that means the guy's got a bad rep. Tell you what, because this is oh, that was the other topic when we talked about a club where the difference equipment makes, didn't we?
Yes.
File that one. File it for later. Add it to the list, Mr. Sulu. So yeah, Ewok's not going to come back to you. So right,
wait a minute. Just don't forget
have a rant about Gloomhaven.
Oh right. So I was sitting at work having a cheeky little vape. No, Ewok saying no resin printed on fancy stuff at Ready as well, no shade on that particular designer. I'll come to that in a minute, Ewok. Sat at work, having a vape. This came up in my fucking Google recommended for you feed, and I went, okay, I'll have a click on it, because me and Paul have played some Gloomhaven. Oh my fucking god. Jesus fucking H Christ. Who fucking wrote this article? Because it was that bad, I've just blotted it from my memory.
It was written by Megan Colleran on Bell of Lost Souls, I believe, on October the 21st, nonetheless.
So, advertising, Gloomhaven making your favourite dungeon crawl into a cooperative board game, spelt incorrectly for starters.
Yeah, that's not how you spell cooperative, by the way.
Secondly, it was always a fucking board game before it ever became digital, so off you fuck. And thirdly, if you could shill any fucking harder, please prove me wrong. Fuck me.
Yeah.
They advertise it as it's got 95 or however many scenarios it has, and each will take you roughly 1 to 2 hours to play. So there's over 120 hours of playtime in this box. I call fucking bullshit. Me and Paul have played about 6 scenarios. Each have taken them at least 3 hours. That's 18 hours of play. Fuck! It genuinely made my blood boil.
Yeah. I didn't get quite so agitated by the article, but I did think, come on,
You're
guys.
a fucking better man than me. Because
It's the 21st of October 2024. The second edition isn't out. Gloomhaven is as old as the hills, and I still don't understand why it was like #1 on Board Game Geek for like a billion years. It's ridiculously hard.
No, because the best is Ewok. We spend half an hour when we pack away setting the stuff up for next time, so it's only about 15 minutes to set up the map. So all in all, about 45, because we spend half an hour before we pack it all away, getting ready for the next time.
I don't know if any of you guys have played Gloomhaven. I mean, if I had to rank it out of 10, I'd say 5 or 6 out of 10. It's okay.
It is fucking bad.
It's just...
Oh, and it's taking us 3 hours when we're playing on baby's first board game difficulty.
Yeah. Yeah, we're sort of like playing on the fucking easy setting. I hadn't even allowed for this setting, 0 level. And still only winning the scenarios by 1 activation. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, they did Jaws of the Lion, and they did the book with the maps that opened out, so you didn't have to build the maps with the tiles. And again, do you know what? I wouldn't mind if the payoff was worth it, but fuck me, this game is frustrating. And I'll tell you something else as well. Not only is the gameplay really hard and really frustrating, but the story takes fucking ages to get going as well. The first 4 or 5 missions are so fucking boring, and there's hardly any narrative of such. As you know, it's not until you've played through a good 4 or 5 scenarios that something happens in the story and you actually think,
or you get the random
section.
A random encounter like we did in the very first session, which is the other side of the fucking mat and requires you to stand on a fucking platform while your other mate's trying to fucking solo a dungeon. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. Oh, Ewoks! That is good to know. I'm going to go have a look at that.
I was just going to say, you'll have to give us the, you'll have to tell us whether it pays off. Folklore: The Affliction, a beer and pretzels version of Gloomhaven. Yeah.
See you, Crispin.
See you later, Crispin. Oh, it's 9 o'clock. We've waffled on for far too long. Well, that's quite good, actually. That's timed really well, because that is pretty much the news. I don't think the only other thing we had was the Arkham Nightmares miniatures, but you sent that more for me, didn't you?
Yeah, it was more for you. It wasn't for the news.
So, main topic o'clock then. So, David and I.
Hang on, you got some lightning and some spooky effects for this shit.
No, we'll have to improvise. Sort of drumming rain noise. Time for the Lloyd Build Rome song. We wanted to come up with a Halloween theme, and we were talking about different things the other night. And now, for those of you who've watched for a while, will know that David and I do like a bit of horror. Primarily Lovecraftian. We don't really dabble with anything else, I don't think.
Yeah,
basically Lovecraftian. But we are a fan. David's got the
basically if HP Lovecraft has written it, we've both got a hard on for it.
Yeah, we're easily satisfied by the whole raft of Lovecraft themed board games that are out there. So
it's not just board games though, sir, is it? Because we had a demo of Mythos and we quite liked it, which is inspired by
yes
Lovecraft.
Yes.
And we will come to that more in a minute, boys and girls.
And basically, our this whole topic, I want to preface this topic with a bit of not a disclaimer, but a clarification.
A cautionary tale, boys and girls.
what's the word? My contention, or my sort of like thesis is
Conjecture.
that horror doesn't really work in tabletop war games. And by that I mean that horror as a theme, which we're all familiar with from movies, if nothing else, okay? So we've all watched a horror movie at some point in our lives, whether we enjoy horror movies or not and find them rubbish. There are certain, and it doesn't matter whether it's like a fucking stabber flick or a Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Saw or a fucking 1970s Hammer Dracula movie or whatever. There are certain things that come with horror, like that. Basically, there's that feeling of fear and being overwhelmed and finding things are too, the odds are stacked against you. You've got no chance. These are all of the things. These are the tools in the toolbox. So do I, Darren, but that ages us badly. These are the things in the toolbox that horror uses to do its thing. And horror in gaming can work really well. Okay, anybody who's sat down with a great keeper and played Call of Cthulhu, the horror game, anybody who's played the Alien...
Arkham Horror, LCG and board game, both really well, because the entire world is cusping and it's so easily get away from you, and it's so brutal that it really, really does set the setting and the scene, doesn't it, Ginge?
Yeah. And again, with those, I mean, whether we're talking a role-playing game, again, another one, whether we're talking a role-playing game or a card game or board game, often these sort of like horror-based games are cooperative, where everybody's in the same boat. Another classic one is like the traitor games, like The Thing, where you don't know what's happening. Who is the person sitting next to you going to turn on you? Are they a traitor? Are they not?
Again, Nemesis, the board game.
Yeah.
Very Alien-esque.
Yeah, and to be fair, that again, it does it sort of like it does capture the horror elements by the futility and the fact that the game can be overwhelming quite quickly. I mean, I know people have criticised Nemesis as a board game because if you draw the monsters badly, if you draw the queen early on in the scenario, it's basically all over. You're dead. And yeah, that could be seen as a design flaw, but then again, it could be seen as the game leaning into its horror. Its horror sort of its horror roots, its horror DNA. Dead of Winter is another classic traitor game, Ewok. I've not played it myself, but I've seen lots on the internet about it, and I know it gets really good press. But it's becoming quite vogue at the moment for horror in war games. I mean, one of the most recent, is there a more recent one than Doomed? Doomed was sort of like Silver Bayonet has got elements of horror in it.
Mythos.
Mythos is an older
Mythos
one that's
is older,
now
but...
that War Cradle are doing. But the problem is, these games, they wear a badge that says, yeah, when darkness comes. Yep, that's another good one, Ewok. Again, I've read the rulebook. I haven't played that one. That one might be the payoff one. Ooh, this could be a part 2. Ooh! Right. There is going to be... Right, I'm going to stick this in here. Something occurred to me about last week's stream. For anybody who watched last week's stream, during the main topic, I was fumbling for the topic that, or the sort of category of things that we didn't talk about when we were talking about how to sort of like break your own indecision and your own sort of like procrastination with something. And the thing that we forgot was understanding what you want yourself. So that's here. So that's it. We've now completed that topic. Coming back to what we were talking about, When Darkness Comes might be one that we revisit if it can break the mold. But so like one thing that David and I have found is when we play horror themed board games, because we haven't done any real role playing, although I've got both Call of Cthulhu and Alien that I want to run as soon as I can, really. That the horror comes across in the gameplay. With miniature wargaming, it doesn't.
I mean, I've watched a couple of Doomed because it's been something that's been of interest to me.
Yeah.
But other than you fighting a big bad, it doesn't really come across as this is a horror game. Not in the same way that Arkham does, that you're constantly fighting for your life, etc.
I mean, take Mythos, which should tick all of the boxes for us with its Lovecraftian. You know what I mean? It fits the genre we love. But I having played Mythos, I just feel that it's a miniatures game. It doesn't.
Yeah, it's a miniatures game with a skin of cosmic horror.
Yeah, number
It's
one.
It's by no means a accurate and true representation of Lovecraftian horror in a miniatures war game.
Well, but could you even do that in a miniatures war game? Because like the whole premise of miniatures war games largely is that it's you versus an opponent or multiple opponents on an even playing field.
Well, this is where I was about to come to, right? This is what I was about to say.
Yeah.
So you have that element and that issue. The next problem you have is you could take the approach of League of Infamy, what's the other one? Dungeon Saga Origins, etc.
Yeah.
And have a one versus many system. So have a games master to set it up. But as we've mentioned before on this channel, those games, whilst they are miniatures war games, they play A, more like a board game.
Yeah.
And two, it's nice, but one thing I will say about like the FFG Arkham Horror stuff, the AI that's generating and running the game in the background is so nice because it allows you to experience all that shit with your compadre you're playing with versus you doing it for your compadre. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I tell you, the other thing that we sort of like spoke about, didn't we, was we've recently been playing through the Red King campaign for Frostgrave. And
yes,
if anybody who's got that, it says at the beginning, this is a high-level campaign. You need to play, what was it, level 15? We recommend level 15 wizards? Something like
I'd seen it on the internet that people were recommending like high levels.
Okay. And do you know what? There have been times during that campaign that has felt more horror than anything else that I've ever played in a miniatures format, because it's got all of those elements, hasn't it? It got
the complete uphill struggle, the fact that we're getting fucking our face stomped into the curb.
I mean, we have effectively played Frostgrave as 3-player fully co-op and enjoyed the shit out of it because the AI was battering the living crap out of us with preposterous monsters, killing all of our models, and we were like literally struggling to like, can we get a chest off? Can we even get one treasure chest off the table? Oh no, look, somebody else is down, and it's like, I need to save your wizard. And for me, it's evoked more of those horror vibes than any other game.
Than a game that's actually advertised as being a horror.
And I think for me, the message I would, or that my contention is, my thesis, that horror doesn't come from the imagery as much as it comes from the gameplay and the feeling it creates in you as the player.
Well, I was about to say, you were looking at Games Expo at Don't Look Back.
Yes, I was.
Which is literally the definition of a horror, because you're playing through the fucking horror movies.
Well, I mean, the other one we talked about is All Out Walking Dead. And again, I've watched playthroughs of Don't Look Back and Walking Dead. Ash Barker has done Don't Look Back for his Halloween video this year. If you haven't seen it, go and watch it on his channel.
Yeah, because the new edition came out earlier this year, didn't it?
They've done a hardback book, and I think they've consolidated a lot of supplement books into one big book.
Yes, they have. You watched what I watched earlier.
Yeah. It's fine. It looks like a fun little miniatures game, but I mean, I haven't. The Aliens Legendary Deck Builder is one that I wanted to buy. To be fair, Ewok, I think it's out of print though.
I mean, that's the point
maybe.
On the Aliens front. Like, we played GF9s another day in the core.
Yeah.
At UKGE.
Yep.
It did not at all feel like the fucking Aliens movie.
No, because nothing felt scary enough. And again, I've got the Prodos AVP stuff, and don't get me wrong, it's fucking great. All of the hidden movement rules for the aliens and the predators, and it's a really good miniatures game. The assets look beautiful. It's great to play in that world, but does it feel scary in the same way that the film feels scary? No, of course it doesn't. Because and I think, see, Darren says Forbidden Psalm is pretty much horror. It's the end of the world. Darren, does it feel like horror though, or is it just a game where that sort of like look is pasted on?
I'm gonna possibly piss on people's bonfire.
Yeah.
40k. Very grimdark, very horrific. Shit that goes on in the 40k universe is fucking horrible. You've got fucking demons, etc., like plague demons. The lore and the darkness and the horror, the gothic horror that is represented in the written word is way, way, way better than the horror that's represented on the tabletop.
Yeah.
Because the horror is not represented on the tabletop. It is literally just a smash and grab.
And I think the problem is the wargaming format.
Yeah, and this is sort of
Darren's basically just echoed. Yeah, see, if you Darren's comment is it's basically horror themed, and that's the thing, Darren. Again, I am not throwing any shade on any of the games we've discussed. I think that they're great games, a lot of them. The Gale Force 9 one that we played, I enjoyed it, and if I didn't own so much of the Prodos stuff, I would definitely have bought the entire fucking range of stuff that they've done. They've done, I think, 3 different products now. But as I say, I've already got so much, I don't really need any more.
I mean, again, Space Station Zero that I've been playing recently has a little bit of that horrific flavour. You're fighting for your life and you're going through, but it's exactly that.
Yeah.
It's just a flavouring. It's not a horror. It's not dark enough. Yes, things may die, but it's not scary. You're not on tenterhooks the entire time. Me and Paul have had 4-hour sessions of Arkham, particularly this Hemlock Vale campaign that we've recently played, where we have been the entire game fighting for our lives. Nails, dragging down a fucking chalkboard, clinging on with sheer existence to not go insane, not die, and make it out alive.
Not progressing the game at all, literally just trying not to be dead by the next Mythos phase. That is our sole goal. And
but it's horrific, but it's good for it.
Well, that's the thing. you'd think, oh, that sounds horrible and frustrating, and I'm sure that there are people who would find that horrible and frustrating as a game format. But that is the nature of the horror, and you either buy into that or you don't. That's one of the things Fantasy Flight have got so good at doing it. I mean, do you know what? This sort of conversation, in a way, has come full circle. Here's the contrast. I think it's fair to say, correct me if I'm wrong, mate, some of the things that we have felt, particularly playing the Arkham Horror living card game, but also the board game at times, in certain of those scenarios in the board game are brutal as fuck.
The first one, the approach of Azathoth that they give you as a fucking intro, it's got such a rep online that, like, the win rate on it's like 15%.
Yeah.
I mean, at least it introduces you to Arkham and fucking buckle up, Buttercup.
Yeah.
If you don't like,
if you're not going to enjoy this, you ain't going to enjoy this game,
off.
sort of thing. Yeah. But correct me if I'm wrong, right? A lot of the things that we feel when we're playing those games, we also felt playing Gloomhaven. But with the Fantasy Flight games, it works. With Gloomhaven, it didn't work. Because that's not what we signed up for, was it? And it didn't.
No, again, we were missold Gloomhaven.
Yeah.
Like it's a legacy companion game. You're going through. It's a la D&D.
Yeah,
well,
I think that's
games in, and we still haven't got any progression. And I will argue this with you. We have played the progressive system in Arkham Horror board game that is so tacked on and veneered, it is unreal. But actually, that was quite fun in a way, because it was, well, this is just going to get stupid. This is getting horrible with the changes that are being made.
Yeah, because it's effectively Dungeons and Dragons. It's effectively like the progression of a role playing campaign, but you don't get any level ups.
Yeah.
So like you stay level 1, but all the monsters go to level 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's like, oh, okay, this is a little bit fucking crazy. But
this
again,
is how this works, is it?
It's just leaning hard into the theme, isn't it? It's leaning hard into frustration and overwhelming you with forces that you can't even begin to match, and it's what Trevor said there, but that's the challenge, ? That is the challenge, and it's fun, but the thing is, you know what you're signing up for. I think that horror is definitely something that can be delivered in the tabletop gaming space. Board games can do it. I think role-playing games are the best way to do it.
40k. The Tyranid should be the scariest thing to mankind, other than probably demons.
Yes.
The fact that they're a biological set of chitinous insects that have a collective hive mind, are forever fucking hungry, and will stop at nothing till they devour an entire planet, set of systems and everything else, and they're from beyond the universe.
What's that? There's a quote from a film, isn't it? It cannot be reasoned with, it cannot be stopped.
Yeah.
It will. I can't remember which. Say in the chat where that full quote, if you're geek or nerd.
It should be absolutely fucking terrifying.
It absolutely will not stop.
But it never comes across when you actually play the game.
Yeah, when you're playing the war game, you're you're into the nuts and bolts of movement and details of what attacks am I making, what defences have you got, and all of that. Just because horror is about immersion, isn't it, mate? I think that's the issue.
I was about to say, I'll tell you probably the most immersive game I have played.
Yeah.
In a sort of horror style is what's it called? Torch and Shield from Grimskulls.
Oh yes, yeah. That was like a print and play game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a print and play game. They've got some minis, but basically you build a set of dwarves. You have torches and lights, etc. It's adversarial and cooperative. because you're going in raiding, getting treasure a la Frostgrave.
Okay, so
But it's very
okay,
fucking-
so it's got elements of both. You can cooperate with your friends, but ultimately one of you needs to get the treasure. You need to get the treasure, and they don't, sort of thing.
But how the creatures work and how the darkness works is really good.
Okay.
In advertising sort of that horror spec. All the lights have like a D&D fog of war aspect, so if one of your dwarves fox off into the next room into the darkness, he can't see as well to fight. The monsters are going to fight him harder because they're obviously trained and live in the dark, and that kind of thing. But there's also every round, your light source could go out, and there's that edge of horror of, well, is it going to burn out this round? Am I going to be fucking really struggling in a minute?
Yeah.
Knowing that this room has 3 or 4 monsters in it that are going to just absolutely descend on me and tear me to shreds.
Okay, so that's your would you say your best horror gaming experience
Yes.
in terms of war game? Deep Rock Galactic Upworlder says again.
Yeah, but it's a board game, Trevor. This is the problem. It's a board game, not a war game.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't feel it particularly horrific when I was playing it, but then again, I don't really know the franchise, so I was probably losing something in translation. It might be.
I mean,
here's a shout out.
Getting overwhelmed and wading through a load of books. Yeah, it's difficult, but it's not horrific. And the art style doesn't sell it either.
No, that's true. It doesn't have a very horrific art style. Everything's quite light and brightly coloured, isn't it?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Right, throwing this open to the chat. Terminator. Again, do you know what, Damon? I haven't played enough of the Terminator. I've played it probably twice, absolutely years ago. I do have a copy of Terminator Genesis, the miniatures game, from Dark Horse, was it?
Yes, it was Dark Horse.
Would you say does it have that thing? I don't remember it being particularly skewed. Shout out in chat. Because I've got I think I've got one. Games Workshop's best horror game.
Oh, I know where you're going with this. Boys and girls in the chat, can you guess?
Can you guess what Paul thinks is Games Workshop's best effort or best attempt so far at what I think you could fairly Yes! Darren. Spot on, mate. Yeah. Do you agree, though? Does everybody agree? It was from Terminator as well. Okay. Oh, the don't stop. The will not stop. Oh, was it when? Yeah, Kyle Reese was saying about Terminators to what's her face, wasn't he? Old Doodad's mother. I can't remember her name.
Is that her actual definition? Old Doodad's mother.
Yeah, him. What's it? Yes, that's right. Well done, Damon. You're a genius, man. Yeah, well, I see where you would go with Terminator now. You are spot on, sir. That is exactly where that's from. Oh, thank Christ we've got these dweebs in the chat. We'd be knackered without them. So, yeah, does everybody else agree? Space Hulk is what Space Hulk, I think, is probably... I mean, again, some people might say, yes, but it's a board game. Yeah, it is. Sort of.
So this is what we keep coming back to through this discussion. The fucking all of the games that we are saying are really good and really sell those horror aspects.
Yeah.
Aren't actually war games.
No.
They're fucking board games masquerading.
Yeah, and there's. I mean, again, we talked about it last week. I think we talked about it anyway. Like. When David and I were talking about Wild West games, and I said, "Oh, you are David. You are Chief Dweeb."
We'll get you a set of glasses for Christmas, Damon, and a bit of plaster on them so that they're like a geek out of the American
I'll tell you what
movies.
we'll do. We'll get Ewok to write you a theme tune. All right. And it could be like
God,
a wrestling.
is this going to be a
like a
theme,
wrestling
different
theme.
one each week?
And what I'll have to do is I'll get them all hotkeyed, and then when you enter the chat, I can play your dweeb thing.
Fucking intro music. That's barred out ranked dweeb. I think it might Damon, not Damon. Ewok.
That's fucking genius. Oh my god, that could feature in the lyrics. Damon the dweeb. Genius. Oh my god. It just writes itself, don't it, kids? Just writes itself. So let's take. We've reached the halfway point. We've said that horror. To capture the feeling of horror, you have to capture those feelings of being overwhelmed, outnumbered, outgunned. You know, on the edge of failing, like riding a razor's edge of success. And we've said that there's card games that do it, and board games that do it, and role-playing games that can do it fantastically.
Wrestling entrance music sounds like a HR issue.
Here's the question, right? Could you do it with a war game? Would the war game work, and would it be enjoyable if it was that asymmetric, that difficult?
I know what you're trying to say here, but I think there is an argument and an avenue of not every war game has to be what's it fucking called? Adversarial.
Yeah, so you're thinking if it's co-op against some sort of like crazy AI.
Crazy AI, crazy number of monsters walking on, etc. I think you could do it. I think you'd be even harder pressed to do that horror aspect in an adversarial game of I have a band and you have a band of motley crew with the horror aspects.
I just think it comes down to the question that do war games, is it a case of they're the complete antithesis to it? Like if you were to create a lopsided asymmetric war game that one player could win quite easily by being lucky on some dice rolls on turn one, is that satisfying, or can that be made satisfying in the same way that a brutal board game might be satisfying?
I think if you take the OG Space Hulk approach, where you could re-rack, or it's you versus your friend to see the highest points, etc., and it's that brutal, it's over in an hour, and you can play it each way in a time.
But again, you're already saying things that are very difficult to do with a miniatures war game. Board games can do that, can't they? They can do with a board game. You could do the minimal components, rack and replay. Do you know what I mean? It's easy. But when you spend like 20-30 minutes setting up your table, laying out your miniatures, is it that easy to do that? Could you do that?
This is what I'm saying. Do you know what I mean? It's harder in that regard.
Oh, fucking Ewok. Brilliant. Ewok says, to be fair, I have the skills to make most games horrific. The most brutal board game ever is Viticulture. What's that? Cutthroat World of Wine Brewing. Or wine fucking making. Genius. Yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying, but like as this is my contention.
Again, I think you
Can
have
you
to,
even do that?
I think if you incorporate elements of the darkness and horrors, etc., you can do it as well. And that's why I think Torch and Shield works.
Well, that's true.
Because
Yeah.
You've got both of you trying to achieve your goal, which is go and get treasure, fuck off.
Yeah.
But the board is fucking you up and playing against you. Yes, there's some luck and things involved on your part of rolling dice and making sure that your light doesn't go out. And when your light goes out, you know you're fucked, so you better get the fuck on with it. But you know what I mean?
But again, I know it might seem Paul, it's semantics, mate. Is it a board game with miniatures, or is it a miniatures war game?
It doesn't play on a 3x3. If we're gonna
with free
take
terrain.
that conjecture, yeah, it is very sort of Mantic dungeon tile-esque, or
I might be being
open
awkward
areas with lights, etc.
Yeah, I might be being awkward for the sake of being awkward, but that's really what I'm saying is that, you know, because, you know, when
Shall we come full circle and back to the elephant in the room with Mythos?
Yeah, go on then. Go on.
Because from what I remember of the Mythos games, yes, things were one-sided, but they were relatively balanced. But because I tell you what makes a game of horror for me, and I'm hitting the nail on the head here, going down this avenue that I'm going down.
Yeah.
That for a war game to be horror,
Right, Darren.
I don't want to be playing against an opponent. I don't want to be playing against somebody that has a really powerful list, because I feel bad about it.
Yeah.
I want mine and your lists to be balanced. We're both trying to achieve the same goals on the table.
Or if they're different goals, at least they work for the army we've got, so that they're relatively achievable.
And the table is trying to fuck us up.
Yeah, okay.
I think that has to be the foundation stone for me and horror gaming in general, but particularly wargaming. Having a competent AI to do it, to run the game, to be intelligent in the background while I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, but basically, and it really comes back to their Frostgrave thing. I agree with you entirely. Yeah. If we hadn't have made the decision, Jesus Christ, these scenarios are ridiculously hard. How about we just basically leave each other alone and try and get through it? If we hadn't have done that, I think, though, we could have had potentially the most negative play experience with Frostgrave we've ever had. Do you agree?
Yes.
And
yes.
I think that pretty much nails what you've just said. I think it pretty much vindicates what you've just said, that for the horror experience to pay off, because again, the horror experience you get from a book or a film is completely different to the one you get from a game, don't you think?
Yes.
So like, if you get a horror experience from a book or a film can be totally passive, can be totally, you know, you're just reacting to somebody else's drama. But a game you have to participate in. And for that to
take
not...
an active role at.
Yeah, for that not to be fucking awful, you need to feel that everybody else is in the same shit with you, don't you?
Yeah, and that's why like Arkham works, because we're all in this same boat. We're all getting fucked.
We're working as a team, and we're just trying to do the best we can. And I think that, I mean, here's the other thing, right? We've just shot ourselves in the foot, or I've just shot myself in the foot, in that we have said that we played basically by accident the most horrific Frostgrave campaign ever, and we've actually enjoyed it. And we managed to co-op our way through it. We've enjoyed each other's moments of glory, like when Ricky got to do his treasure chest hunt and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I laughed at the expense of your apprentice to the expense of my apprentice.
My fucking died game 2, and then yours got killed in the last one. It's like, yes, now the tables are level. But so, and that is it's a miniatures game, isn't it? It's a miniatures war game.
Yeah.
There's no board gamingness there. Those are miniature war. It is a miniature war game working as a miniature war game should, and it worked. Obviously, caveat what you just said. It was not adversarial. Like the Ikra, definitely. I tell you what, it's a shame that Darren has left, because something that's just occurred to me is, does anybody else here play any of the solo stuff? 5 Leagues from the Borderlands, 5 Parsecs, whatever. Rangers of Shadow Deep. Because Darren does, and I wonder if the horror to express real horror in miniatures wargaming, whether those sort of systems, the solo bay. So, what do you?
Well, again, it touches on. What's the one I've been doing? Space Station Zero.
Yeah.
Space Station Zero is designed to be played solo. It just so happens at the moment that I'm playing it co-op with Ricky.
Okay, mate. So, Aaron,
and as I said to you in like the pre-stream, there are elements of horror within it.
Ooh, Aaron, that is a good bomb, sir. Welcome to the show, and that's a fucking cracker to enter with. You carry on, mate, and then we'll come to Aaron's point, because that's fucking spot on.
But my point being, it is horrific. It's quite dark. You're struggling to survive. It's you versus the board and the creatures on the board. As I say, at the moment, it just so happens that I'm playing it cooperative with Ricky because that's what we're doing. But I think, again, the problem is it's not fully horror themed. Not every mission feels like I'm about to get insta-gibbed and die.
Okay, yeah.
Certain missions are quite easy.
Yeah.
Other missions, like the one that I've got to play shortly, which is the virus bomb one, is going to be a fucking nightmare because there's deranged mutants. I've got to try and defuse a virus bomb. There's going to be gun turrets fucking me up, and I've only got 6 turns to do it, or everything's going to die.
Yeah, you see, that sounds like the classic setup of a sort of like a space horror movie, a la Aliens, doesn't it? I mean,
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so Ewok, you said that you do play the solo games. Give us your assessment of whether you think those things could not deliver a horror veneer, or not deliver a game with a horror theme, but actually deliver a horror experience that you would at least partially feel when you were playing it. Aaron's point here, look, just bombing in with my opinion, best setup for horror is 2 groups setting up shocking surprises to pop up for one another. Horror needs mystery. Now that's an interesting dynamic, isn't it? Where you're sort of adversarial, but you're adversarial in a way where you're setting traps or playing with maybe narrative elements for your against your opponent.
Yeah.
And not only is that a genius observation, but I'm thinking that might be a genius game design. I don't know if you're a game designer, Aaron, or whether you've actually got a product that you're you're thinking of, but just to warn you, I may steal that. Because that sounds like it could actually be a core mechanic for a great game. What do you think, mate?
I mean, there's elements of it. I think the
only thing that does
the only
reticence I've got is the word that comes into the back of my head, and I can just about hear it if I listen hard enough, is gotcha.
This is what I was literally just about to say, but I have a solution for the got you mechanic.
Oh, okay, go.
You know how we play Infinity and we play like putting the ninjas down? I turn my back, we set the trap up, we take the picture of said mini, and then we fucking do it that way.
Damn, that's
if you
a good
did that pre-game, that would work beautifully.
Okay, yeah.
And then then all you have to do is say, oh, well, when you're within 6 inches of the point, the horror kicks off or something. Do you know what I mean? The trap that's been set and been laid. So that's done. You've got the photo of it pre-game. There's no argument to be had about it.
Yep.
Nobody can turn around and say, oh, well, you're using that because I'm getting away with the game or something. You know what I mean?
You're just being a dick at this point, sort of thing.
Yeah, there's no there is got ya, but it's not got ya to the same extent. Do you know what I mean?
That is a very good thought. Yeah, I am familiar with the Captain Sonar board game, mate. So Darren says, steal away. I've designed a few game seeds, but never a complete game. The only other option is a set of tables or decks that combine to make a semi-unique final enemy's stats. But the figure is never going to be a surprise. Yeah, I mean, the surprise thing, that's what, because I mean, again, that's what random tables are great for, isn't it? And I think that's what a lot of these solo games, see, the beauty of the solo games are that you can put in horrendously long-winded administrative tasks like roll on this table 6 times or roll on this suite of 11 tables to create X, Y, and Z. And you haven't got to think about the person who's standing there watching you do that, yawning into their fucking wristwatch, going, oh, how much longer is this guy? You know, you can literally just set it up and then play it over 3 or 4 evenings of play, and it doesn't matter how long.
Here's a solution for that problem then, because everybody loves an app.
Nobody likes apps in tabletop wargaming, mate. Typical fucking millennial. Jesus Christ.
Sorry, mister, I play Infinity and I play it with an app.
Look, grognards are anti-app. It's official.
Well, stop being a fucking grognard.
Oh dear. Apps.
Get in the 21st fucking century.
Mate, that's it. All of our subscribers are gone. You mentioned apps in gaming.
Because one thing I will say.
Go on.
OPR Quest.
Oh, this is their new little...
Yeah, and the Star Quest game that they've just released.
Yeah.
You build a player character, put in what you have as a collection of miniatures for the scenario.
Yes.
Of what you've got painted up, and there is a website app in the background that goes, right, you're playing on easy difficulty. I'm going to select X, Y, Z. This is how you're going to set that round up, and you're just facing off against waves of enemies.
That's a good idea.
It doesn't seem overly interesting for me, but this is what I'm saying about that
it's a good
sort
use
of
tech. Yeah, I am obviously being hyperbolic. No, you're right. Those sort of digital tools can streamline the shit out of that sort of stuff. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, technology in game. I think. Do you know what? As long as there's the caveat that if there is no access to the technology, there is a way to do this by hand.
I.e. manual table.
Yeah, then I don't think anybody can really object. I think I do sort of see the argument. I mean, taking Mansions of Madness 2nd edition, where if that app ever stops working or is not supported, either on the web or Android or iOS or whatever, then that game basically becomes unplayable because there is no.
It becomes a massive paperweight.
There is no paper reversion method, and I totally get why people say no. That's a red line. You know, if the technology is a pre-requirement for me to play with my cardboard and plastic product, no. I like the way that When Darkness Comes is almost structured like a video with increasingly tough waves of bad guys. Yeah.
Well, again, it's like Space Station Zero. It is very pick your own adventure, and there are certain missions that you play that then go, yeah, no, there's no going back now, boys and girls, because it's collapsed, the tunnel's collapsed, etc.
Yeah.
You're fucked.
I mean, again, you know, those sort of things like dynamic changing tables and maps, it's quite easy to do in board games. I mean, the last Assassin's Creed scenario we played, the map basically disappeared, didn't it? But it's really tricky to do that sort of thing in a tabletop miniatures game. Aaron says, sorry, my thought was a campaign where players roll throughout to define the attributes for their big bad's minions, then eat those contributes to characteristics to be. Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting idea. So he basically becomes an amalgam of the things that come before. Yeah, that could give you quite an interesting sort of like plot.
Because again, one thing I will say is like the Doomed is very sort of you know what you're facing. There's only a choice of 4 in the book, kind of thing. You're not rolling randomly and getting new shit.
I mean, I'm thinking about horror board games. I was just thinking about Ewok. Stop it. What do you think?
I am not rising to that clear and unadulterated bait.
Thinking about the old horror board games, we haven't mentioned Kingdom Death Monster. I know neither of us own it, but that's... I mean, certainly, again, I feel that it's one of the things where the miniatures have that horror feel, but I'm not sure that the horror comes across in the game.
Yeah.
You know, I think when you go on your hunts, you're the game is sort of like, it's designed so that you've got a chance of winning the hunt. Because if you don't, then it just becomes a stagnation and stalemate. And that's the thing, you know, when a game gives you a fair chance or a puzzle to solve, it's not particularly horrific, or it doesn't
actually
have
then
those essential elements.
are we going to come full circle?
Go on then.
Right, and say the reason that horror board gaming works is because you are not overly invested. You can re-rack it, you can redo it, you can go again. There's replayability to that.
I think you mentioned it earlier.
Two or 3 hours of a miniatures war game, or again, even 4 or 5 sessions of a miniatures war game campaign, to walk away and go, well, actually, now I'm insane and I can't play shit ever again.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
I do think that you mentioned it earlier, the old just say fuck it and re-rack and play again. That element is just missing from a lot of miniatures games, because the mechanics don't, you know, I mean, having said that, Carl did do a video about games that can be played in an hour. You know, maybe those are the sort of game. Maybe if you sort of like keep your core gaming experience to under the hour, you can pull off the horror thing. And like you say, your time and your investment is low enough that if things go wrong early on and you just feel, oh my god, this is ridiculous, then you don't feel bad because you're like, oh, I've wasted an entire evening on this. What a cunt.
Yeah.
You could even use a deck, and they have, to achieve a goal to discover what's on the card. If they fail, it stays hidden and they're not able to prepare until the final game. It's probably too late. Yeah? That could be a bit frustrating though, Aaron, to be fair, to not know what you've got to do, unless the unlocking of the card is
just going to say Rex Murphy and the LCG that we played lately. I'm a bad Rex Murphy player, apparently. Didn't once do the archaic list because I was too busy trying to stay alive and not get unalived by the fucking game.
But to be fair, what the mistake you made was when you played, because is that the first time you've played an Arkham Horror campaign, the card game?
Yeah, full campaign. Yeah, so it's the first time.
It's the first time you played the full campaign. The mistake you made, and it's a perfectly valid mistake, was you It's a bit like, do you know what? Here's a good analogy. You made the same mistake in Arkham that people make in Infinity when they first switched to Infinity from a different miniatures game. In Infinity, you've got 10 orders and you've got 10 models, and you think, oh, I need to do something with each of these models with these 10 orders. And you start on that basis and you realise, oh no, this is not how this game works. With Rex, what you were trying to do was deliver value with each of your 3 actions each turn, whereas what Rex is supposed to do is
Just deliver actions with 2 and then use the third for himself.
Yeah, set up one of his actions, use 2 actions
I
to set up one that delivers bonkers value. Sorry?
I will caveat that with, next time can we try and not get fucking wrecked constantly then?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I think as well, I have to mea culpa because I brought a fighter who couldn't deliver without, you know, we got so little experience. There's no way my Mark build was ever going to cope with the fucking enemies. Because obviously once I revised my Mark deck, we still lost the end scenario. But if I'd have had that Mark deck online from like scenario 2, think of the experience we could have been grinding.
Definitely.
We could have been doing... And the thing is as well, it would have bought you more time to do what you needed to do as Rex to really break.
Yeah, because again, half of the time I was running the fuck away from stuff because there was so many to deal with.
And like at least 2 scenarios, I as the fighter got bogged down with 1 creature and was fighting it basically 2/3 of the fucking game because it was ridiculously hard for me to actually kill shit, which is no way to play the game. But you know, it gave us that. It gave us that. We haven't got a fucking chance experience, which is what Arkham's all about. Well, we've got 5 minutes to go. I've managed to assemble 26 of my movement trays, which I'm pretty pleased with.
Very nice. I've got all of my Raiders for Wasteland Warfare built, and I've got my 2 animals built for the doctors.
Brilliant. So there we go. We've had a pretty constructive
I've got some
evening.
skin tone on my painting comp and khaki on the bottom of the dress. I don't know if that's coming out particularly well.
Do you want to go to your desktop cam?
Yeah, let me just get my desktop cam up.
I've only got bloody assembled movement trays to show off, so I'm sure people don't want to see that because it would be pretty tedious. Yep, you're up.
That'll focus.
Doo-doo-doo.
So I've done khaki for the inner dress.
Yep.
Contrast on the outside, and I'm going to, I think, virtually leave it at that. I'm just going to do some edge highlighting.
Yep.
I've gone round and khaki to the edge of the drape.
Is that a GW contrast purple, that one?
No, that's a Vallejo one.
Is it? You do like... Do you know what? A lot of people say that those Vallejo are the best contrast product. I saw another... I can't remember who I was watching. Another painter was saying that they try it. They've experimented a lot with
They've basically just gone over a zenithal.
Yep.
And then the other thing I've done is I base coated my Oathbreakers in bone, skeleton bone.
Yep.
And I've just gone everywhere because actually there's only like a bit of rib cage and skin showing in a couple of places. And then I'm going to go in and do proper brushwork on all of the drapes and stuff. Because my idea is I'm going to get them to match the cards as best I can.
Yeah,
so this has got the pink in and the brown.
Yep.
This is going to have the blues and the greens that are in it.
Yep.
And then the dwarves are going to have the reds and the blues.
Yeah, cool. Good. Yeah, it's not a bad idea to follow the art on the cards. Because the artwork's really good for those games. Those mythic games. Mythic battles.
Who's got Spam? Are you still here? Because if you're still here, I would like my deck tan, please.
Oh, it must be love. He's lent you his deck tan. Jesus Christ. That's for this. This one's for keeps, guys. Upworlder did say earlier that about Malifaux and horror. The only thing I would say about that Upworlder is, like, I play the demon faction in Malifaux. And everything is like a horrific otherworldly entity from another dimension.
Let me pull up my.
But the last thing that I'm
Carry on.
thinking about when I'm playing Malifaux is, oh, isn't this scary? What I'm thinking is, okay, I've got 2 activations.
I mean, again, if we're going to just jump on the board games that have a horror element, or war games that have a horror element, look at the doctors in fucking Carnivale and the fact that they just stitch wings onto a gorilla and put implants and everything in it. And the Cthulhu faction, the Rashar.
Do you know what? Yeah. I tell you, because again, I think it comes down to immersion. I was thinking, we've played some Carnivale where I've got like my vampires squatting on rooftops, wreathed in mist, looking down, and you know you can visualize it. And
hang on a minute, I'm about to have a falling out with my other half. Do you fucking want to play Carnivale on Saturday or not?
oh, great! We're gonna have a row live on stream. Everybody, just watch this go viral. Yeah, I know what you're saying, Trevor, but again, it comes back to what we said at the beginning. The horror motif is literally painted on. The game isn't a horror game.
It's just a skin.
It's just got horror themes. In exactly the same way that if I play Dracula's America and I've got vampires with 6 guns, it's not going to be scary. It's like, oh, they're vampires. Yeah, they're vampires with 6 guns. It's like, no.
Ewok, my money is on spam.
Oh dear. Yeah,
Aaron, sort of culminating this off here of the bare minimum is the tension of failure and the mystery of some kind.
I think you're right, mate. I think you're right. And again, this is what all the Arkham games offer, the mystery of, because I'll be honest, some of them, like, there are no Arkham horror card scenarios that I know well enough. I don't know how you are with the board game. I certainly don't know them because I've only played them a few times, but there are no scenarios where I can remember each actor agenda flip, so that whenever I'm doing it, I'm not thinking, oh yeah, we're going to need to reset this and do that.
I'm like you, I don't really know the board game that well.
Yeah.
But
okay.
one thing I will say is, while I was away in the Lake District the other week, I did play.
You're getting roasted.
But
go on.
the point I'm trying to make here is I played a scenario I hadn't played before.
Yes.
Curse of Ithaca or something.
Yeah.
That had a big bad early on in the game and has the terror mechanic, which is fucking brutal.
Yeah.
And now I know what it does. The next time I play that, it will be murder hobo the Wendigo off the table as quickly as fucking possible.
But taking Aaron's comment, the thing is like, even though you've demystified the scenario by you now know what that does, in a way, it's the balance has been maintained because now the tension is higher because you know what that thing does. So you're like, okay, when that flips, we're fucked.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, guys, I've been here before. We are in trouble when that flips. So just to let you know.
Now, boys and girls, I have the T-shirt. Let's get on with it.
Right, okay. We've come to time. But that went really quickly. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. It's first thing I'd like to do, as is always tradition, we're going to thank everybody who was over here in the chat tonight. These guys make the show. We just host it. They are the show. It's been another fantastic evening and a privilege to stream for you guys. If you can only find time to do a single thing, because we know time is precious, click the like button and you will be friends for life. If you want to do the other stuff, share, comment and subscribe, like we 2 new people did this week, then that's fantastic. But it's totally optional and only do it if you feel that you want to and you're going to get value out of it. The like button is all that we're going to beg for, because it just pushes us a little bit in the YouTube algorithm, and it is just
it helps expose us.
So,
and I know that's probably the wrong words to have just said at the end of stream there, but fuck it, I said it.
oh, he's exposing himself. Right. So yes, thank you very much to all of you, and thank you very much to you in YouTube land. Have we got a call to action? What do you think? Give us your comment down below.
I was about to say, if we've been completely wrong
Yep.
and missed a game that is the literal epitome and definition of horror,
Yep.
shout at us in the comments below, tell us we're wrong, advise us what we need to go play, and we will probably end up playing it, because
to be fair, do you know what I was going to say? Of all
miniature
the shout outs that we've done,
we don't have in our repertoire at the moment.
yeah, I think of all the shout outs we've ever done, if somebody does say, oh, this game is basically a horror movie with miniatures, and you know, we probably would actually go and play that, because that we love, you know, we do like that experience, and we know we do, because we've played it in various other formats. So right, guys, we will see you all next week for another show, same place, same time. Have a good week of gaming and get some hobby done.
I might come along with some opinions again.
Oh yeah, God forbid David wouldn't have an opinion. Fuck me.
It's another Thursday night. I see Crispin's wearing tights. Sparrow's getting in the bath. Young David's full of wrath. Paula's tightening his straps. Where on his apron you saps. Technical difficulties. They're really such a crime. Technical difficulties. They happen all the time. It's Yellowbelly Tabletop 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 time. Cheese Me is on day release. Damn, still tries not to